All right. So hopefully the camera is picking this up. So today I'm in a city called Paradise, and this city has a bit of an interesting history that I've learned a little bit of. So I didn't know this before coming up here, but this city suffered a pretty devastating fire, and so it's interesting in that it's a genuinely terrible thing. And it's unfortunate, but it's been a little over 4 years now. And I've been able to talk to some of the people in the local area, not just here in Paradise, but also some of the people over in Orland. And one thing that I wanted to say after talking to them is first off that there's what I thought was interesting is that when I looked up the fire, that the news articles all said like campfire gone awry or um, wild campfire or things of that nature, which made it seem like the fire started at a campground that got out of hand. When in reality, after talking to some of the locals, it actually turns out that the fire started on a road called Camp. And that Camp Road is where the fire started. So technically, it was a campfire, but I am of the opinion that that was kind of a fortunate coincidence because it seems from some of the people that I've talked to that they're under the impression that a specific company started the fire and they were the ones that let it get out of hand because from what I've heard, they tend to start a lot of fires in the area for whatever reasons it may be for. And so the fact that it was on a road called Camp and it was a campfire that got out of hand, it's just an interesting thing for me. But what I really wanted to talk about wasn't really the fire itself or the devastation that it caused, but rather the amount of humanity that happened from that fire. So, one thing that I learned, or one thing that I heard from some of the locals, specifically the ones in Orville, is that when the fire happened, there was a lot of people from the surrounding area, as well as people from all over the country that came in to aid Paradise. And it wasn't just one creed or one religion or one group or one company, but it was dozens of them from everywhere. And it wasn't just like these big groups like the American Red Cross or the FEMA, but it was also the international groups such as the Lions and the Rotary and the Masons that came in and helped and rebuilt and donated. And I just wanted to say that that was something that I didn't think about because I kind of just assumed they had to deal with the fire alone. And when it happened, it turns out that Orville specifically was a central hub for hundreds upon hundreds of people going out of their way from out of town, from out of state, to come in and help and get people situated and feed people and house people and clothe people. Because one story that I heard from a lady here is that they just so happened to be going out for coffee, and they just so happened to bring their dogs that day. And she said that they were fortunate enough to do that because they were in town when the fire started spreading so rapidly. And a couple of people said that the fire spread about like a football field every couple of minutes. And that's pretty fast, to be quite honest. And so it's just these people didn't have time to get what they needed. But it's amazing that there's groups around the US, not just like government groups or nonprofit groups. Sorry, government groups, not just government groups, but rather just community groups that are dedicated to helping people in bad times. Like another one that I heard is a Buddhist group that I didn't get the name of, but the people down in Orville were telling me that their fairground was just covered with all these people, and it was Christians and Buddhists and Catholics and Mormons and even Jehovah's Witnesses from the area. But even outside of religion, there were the Knights of Columbus and the Rotary and the Lions, and those are just the ones that I can think of right now because I've seen their logo. That's so I'm reminded of them because of their logos. But other groups that I fail to know, I fail to be able to know or recall right now. And so I just thought that was something important to bring up because I heard from them that there's a lot of people who are focused on this bad, but when a bad time happens, there's a lot of opportunity for good. And that's what I really wanted to focus on. And that's what really inspires me, because one day I do hope to either be a part of or start my own little group like that, like the Knights of Columbus, or perhaps the Rotary group, or Teamsters. That's another one. Because I do want to do good in the world and help people. But I'm not sure if you can make this out, but this used to be a building, and there's some trees back there that have very obvious char marks. And what I want to say is that I've heard from the people here in Paradise and in Orville that Orland, not Orville, Orland, that this is another record year for rebuilding, and that there is a lot of work to be done, but the people here really are incredible, and they're all going about their business and they're all doing their part. And that's really what I wanted to focus about this time. It's just that. But that's just that's a long update. I wanted to say that before I gave a little bit more about what I've done here in Paradise. So I did some laundry, and then I went to a little bar called Jen's Place. And personally, so that was my first time ever in a bar, and the waiter there, Miss Candice, I think that's her name, extraordinary person, super patient, was super willing to help me know about the drinks and such, and was very, very hospitable, I would say. and made the whole experience a lot easier. And I went to the bar specifically for swing dancing. So I did get a little bit of swing dancing. I met Miss uh, Danielle? Damn. I feel really bad that I can't remember her name, but I won't forget her face. She was really kind and an extraordinary dancer. There was also a Miss Shanila, and then I also met two guys that I played billiards with for a while. They're a little bit older, but they were a lot of fun. Mr. AJ and there's another guy, Mr. Darren. Uh, they kind of helped me get comfortable with playing pool, and I'm no genius at it, but I'm really glad that I was able to meet them, hang out, try some drinks, and just overall have a good time with these things. So that's pretty much it for my update here in Paradise. Um, I'm gonna go down to Oroville and do an update down there. And I would really recommend visiting up here. I just came from Orland, and what I thought was interesting, I just so happened to be down there for an event that they do called Shop Hop. And the Shop Hop thing is just a bunch of small local shops in the downtown area. They all participate in this, and you can go to each one and get a stamp from each of the shops and then be entered for a raffle. And so I did that, and it was a lot of fun just getting to talk to the people. And a lot of the shops, more than I would say left to chance, were started 4 years ago. And it took me a while to make the connection because I was talking to someone here, but whenever all of the people had to leave here, they had to go somewhere. Like, just because this city lost a lot of individuals doesn't mean that those people disappeared. They're always going to exist somewhere else. And a lot of them went down to Orland. And so a lot of those shops down there in the downtown area started 4 years ago, which coincides with the exodus that Paradise suffered from, or had from Paradise, the exodus from Paradise. And so it was really interesting getting to talk to so many people and hear their side of the story, and just the little things that they remember, from Orland just being covered with trailers to being covered with campers and RVs and tents and all sorts of different things. It was extraordinary, but I was down there hopping around from shop to shop. I got a couple things. I did get a journal, and I got some marshmallows and such. I got a postcard, or not a postcard, just a normal card that I'll be posting to my family. And Orland is really cute. There's a shop down there called Buc-ee's. It's spelled B-U-C-K-E. So I thought it was Buke for a while until the lady there corrected me. Buke, or Buc-ee's, is the last name of the family that's been there for, I think she said, 4 generations. It started back in 1915, and it's been there ever since. And so I wanted to just point that out. I would definitely recommend visiting it just for a little bit of history. It is right now a feed and supply store, so it's mostly going to be for locals who actually have horses or need feed and supply for a farm or ranch or other type of deal. Then outside of that, I would definitely just recommend going downtown and visiting the people there. Ask them about how they started and really get to know the city a little bit more. A lot of people are upset, I heard, that the city is spending so much money on making a bumblebee statue, a couple of them on the road passes. And I want to say that I thought it was quite funny because as I was talking to some of the shops, they were pretty upset about it because it it so Orland is known as the queen bee capital of the US. At least that's what all of the signs downtown said. And so they're making these bumblebee statues to commemorate that. And it's great and all, I suppose, but the statues are gonna cost, I think they said $2.5 million to erect and make and such. And this city, mind you, well, it isn't even a city. It doesn't have a McDonald's. In fact, they were telling me about how excited they are to get a McDonald's, which is really funny because it just seems like something that every town has, but they're excited about it. But that specifically speaks to how small they are. And so $2.5 million, they were telling me, could go a really, really long way if put into the city for things that the city can use. Anything from refurbishing the skate park to reopening their arcade area that had to shut down to fixing the sidewalks in some of the downtown areas to even just redoing roads in that downtown area, because the statues are great and all, but the sentiment seemed that it's not going to really bring people to the city, and the people that come to see the statues are probably people who are interested more in the arts or cultural significances, and they tend to be the ones that visit for museums or art exhibits, not necessarily to shop downtown, which is a huge, huge aspect of their little city that they have, and they're really proud of it because most of the shops there are in fact local shops, and so they just felt that the money could have been used differently. And again, everyone has their own idea of how the money should be used, but just being an outsider, I personally am partial to it being used for that downtown area to be refurbished and just helped maintained instead of a couple statues. And if they are going to make the statues, probably make one or two in the downtown area that's next to, there's a shop down there called The Hive. It would be great to have a bumblebee statue there because that would make me even more so want to go to The Hive, which I heard has the best honey in the world. I'm not a honey aficionado, but for a place called, for someone who lives in the place that is known as the queen bee capital of the US, that's got to be high praise. But putting one down there or even in the just central plaza of the downtown area would be great. I did take a picture of the cowboy statue downtown, and that's down there to commemorate the cowboy culture that is so big in the area. And so, well, that's one of the cultures. The main cultures here are, in fact, cowboy, Mexican, specifically ranchero, or rancher, Mexican rancher type of deal, which kind of goes hand in hand with the cowboy culture. Native American is a big one, but I was talking to someone in Oroville, and there seems to be some people who are still committing hate crimes against Native Americans, which is extraordinary. It's crazy. It's a bit much for me to like really wrap my head around, but apparently that's still happening. And then Chinese culture, that's a really big one here because of the miners that they had digging mines, digging ditches, all of the labor work that they had. So it's been incredible. That's what I was doing down in Orland. So this is my update. It's a bit of a long one, so just wanted to make sure that y'all were able to keep up with some of the stuff that I'm doing. I was talking with a Native American in Oroville, and his name is, he said his name is Ozzy. Super cool person. He is doing, him and his wife are doing a lot to help preserve their culture over here. I was talking to him about whether or not they were making any writings or anything, and he said no, because it all is just, it's a thing to live, not a thing to just, well, he said it's a thing that they're living and that all of it's in the head. And so I don't want to like put words in his mouth. And so one of the concepts that I took from that is that it is a culture that's lived, not one that's just written down. And I think what struck me from that concept is that it's almost in a strict definition, not strict, it's in a metaphorical definition, alive. And so I see this culture that he's trying to preserve as living, because he said if they were to die, then that's it. The culture is dead, and it's super easy to just wipe that culture out. And so that's because it's not been fossilized yet. And fossilized would be writing it down and putting it onto some sort of structured thing where this is what it is and that is all it's gonna be. That's what a fossil is. At least this is my interpretation of it. And so if it's living, it does change and it evolves and it grows and it breathes, and it needs to be taken care of, and it needs to be practiced, and it needs to be continuously renewed and done. And you need to put heart into it and soul into it so that it continues to live. And it's kind of like a person. A person is what they are now, and it's what they've been, and it's what it's going to be. And so in the same way, that culture is living in that way. And so it's alive, and it can be killed. And if it is killed, someone can try to fossilize it, but fossils tend to miss bits and pieces of the whole idea. And posterity has to fill in the gaps a lot of the time. And so I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that idea of a living culture that's just preserved and lived, not one that's written down and clung to. So anyways, he was really cool. I really liked him. I like what he and his wife are doing down in Oroville. And I would highly recommend people go down and visit their shop, support their shop, support the education opportunities they have down there, They do a lot of what I've heard are like hikes and foraging expeditions, and just teaching the locals about the area and such, and really just learn about it, because in a lot of ways it's not just about preserving the culture, but also preserving the land, preserving the ecosystem here, and preserving the ways people and took care of and stewarded the land here. So I hope to take a lot of those ideas with me once I get back to North Carolina. So that's everything so far. There's a lot of little bits and pieces here and there. I went to a Buddhist temple and I learned a lot there. I visited Clear Lake, that was gorgeous. I visited Grass Valley and Feather City, two opposite but gorgeous places. That's actually where I got this ring. Is Grass Valley. A lovely artist in that Nevada City area named Valina. Wonderful person. Highly recommend looking at her art. She does jewelry. This isn't one of her pieces, unfortunately. I didn't find anything that suited me as me in terms of jewelry that was art, but nonetheless her pieces are extraordinary, and I would highly recommend people to go down there and look at it or look it up. And so far I really enjoyed that city. I visited the Oroville Dam. That was incredible, super cool. It almost broke one time. Some friends of mine in Yuba were telling me, and just being on top of the dam and seeing just the disparity in height, it was incredible, absolutely incredible. And imagining that breaking is just a lot. So yeah, lots of little things here and there. I'm going to be going to an open mic thing later tonight. And so we'll see how that goes. So yeah, all in all, it's been pretty great. I've enjoyed a lot of my time here, and I hope that this update does well to serve as an update. I'm gonna try. I say that, but I'm gonna try to do the updates more regularly, and we'll just see what happens from there.